Hi, my name is Rachel Cocar, and I'm a licensed social worker on the Outpatient Behavioral Health Unit here at KSB. And I'm here to talk to you today about brain health and meditation and mindfulness. Before we get into the brain health portion, I think it's important for us to have a working definition of what mindfulness means. And so I found three quotes that kind of help capture some of what mindfulness means and why it might be important for us. John Kabat-Zinn is known sort of as the father of contemporary mindfulness. This practice has been around for many generations, especially being a really integral part of Buddhism. But Kabat-Zinn has taken a lot of these practices and applied them psychologically and really done a lot of research so that clinicians like myself can understand why mindfulness really is important for us to practice. And he says, mindfulness is about love and loving life. When you cultivate this love, it gives you clarity and compassion for life, and your actions happen in accordance with that. Others have said mindfulness, however, is more than meditation. It involves consciously attending to one's moment-to-moment experience. And yet others have said mindfulness is a deceptively simple way of relating to all experience that can reduce suffering. So there's an element to mindfulness of being present in the moment, wherever we are. Mindfulness means maintaining a moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment through a gentle, nurturing lens. A couple words that are really important to highlight there is that it's not just about our mind, but about being connected, mind and body, and having a sense of what we're feeling, where we're feeling it, and what the triggers around us may be that cause us to sort of feel rising anxiety or stress. But also through a gentle, nurturing lens. When we're mindful, we are showing ourselves compassion, not judgment, because of the feelings or thoughts that we may be having. And finally, mindfulness is awareness of one's internal states and surroundings. Mindfulness can help us avoid destructive or automatic habits and responses by learning to observe our thoughts, emotions, and other present moment experiences without judging or reacting to them. And so that leads us to some of the discussion about brain health and really how our brains help us and can sometimes hinder us, and how mindfulness can help us be more intentional in our actions. And I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but I think it is important for us to understand in our limbic brain, we have the amygdala, and that's really what we refer to as our fight or flight sensation that triggers in us when something is unsafe. And really that is what is flaring up when we feel stress or anxiety. Something has triggered our brain to say, this is an unsafe environment. And we may feel some of those sensations of what folks may call a panic attack, which really are part of that fight and flight response. So sweaty palms, shallow breathing, heart racing, a flush or a warmth that comes over us. And that is sort of an initial reaction. Our brains don't take a long time to have that reaction. It's really a matter of seconds that part of our brain jumps into action. But it's the prefrontal cortex that helps us make the more rational and logical decisions. And that part of our brain takes a little longer. And so part of what mindfulness can do for us is to give that part of our brain that helps make more rational decisions a chance to work. If we're being chased by a bear, of course we want that fight or flight to kick in to give us that extra adrenaline to run away and preserve our life. But That's not usually our circumstance in this modern day and age. And so sometimes that fight or flight reflex can cause us to react in ways that are unhealthy, unhelpful, more anxiety producing, and honestly, ways that we might regret. And so giving ourselves a few minutes to get in touch with our prefrontal cortex, to get in touch with our empathy, our insight, intuition and morality, our values, then that can help us. So mindfulness is a great way to get us to not react, kind of knee-jerk reaction to some of those fight or flight impulses we might feel in a stressful situation. So this slide just highlights some of the benefits of mindfulness, and so and some of the ways that it can help us with our mental health. Mindfulness has been proven to be a effective intervention for those suffering with PTSD. It has also been proven to be effective in fighting depression and anxiety. It's helped to improve academic performance, helps to regulate our emotions, which is a really important task. And it also helps us to process information more efficiently, which we all want. And some of the specific ways mindfulness can help us with our brain health are that it improves our attention, so we can pay better attention when mindfulness is practiced and can keep us in that functioning out of that prefrontal cortex. It actually reduces the gray matter in our amygdala, so it makes that part of our brain smaller. For people who've had a lot of trauma, a lot of anxiety, that part of their brain is enlarged, and it really is a very small part of our brain. It's about the size of an almond, but it can call a lot of shots because it sends a lot of those stress hormones immediately through our bodies. So for folks who practice mindfulness regularly, their amygdala actually is smaller and has less gray matter. It also can increase the gray matter in our prefrontal cortex. So that part of our brain that we rely on to make those better decisions can increase the more we practice mindfulness. And it strengthens our hippocampus, which is also a very important part of our brain. So if we think about how mindfulness can work in a stressful situation, it can have a lot of power. If we don't have mindfulness, we have the stimuli, that's kind of the triggering event. And if we're mindless, then we react. So we've all been in those situations where someone may kind of verbally attack us. And if we're mindless and we haven't really practiced mindfulness, then that fight or flight is going to call our shots, so to speak, and we may react by kind of attacking the person back, whether verbally, physically. A lot of times when we hear about these kind of incidents, it's because their amygdala is really charged and people are reacting out of their fear, that panic sense in their brain. But when we are able to practice mindfulness, we have that triggering event. Mindfulness can help us pause. And again, like I said, give our logical part of our brain a chance to form a better response, more calm, more thoughtful response. So what are some things that we can do to practice mindfulness? I mean, I think all the research says you have to practice it to be able to teach it, to be able to really incorporate it into your life. When we need to use mindfulness, it has to be kind of second nature. So how do we do that? We can do a body scan. And really, that's just as simple as checking in with yourself in the moment of stress. Where am I feeling this stress? Are my shoulders tightened? Is my breath shallow? Is my heart racing? Do I have a headache? Where am I feeling this in my body? Mindful seeing, kind of taking inventory of what's happening around us. What kind of environmental triggers are there? Mindful listening, practicing active listening, being quick to listen and maybe slower to react is a really important part of mindfulness, because sometimes we maybe haven't heard the information the way it was meant to be presented, and sometimes we can react because of tone of voice or what we think someone's trying to tell us, rather than truly listening and hearing. And mindful breathing, I mean, it's sort of cliche, but mindful breathing really has been proven to help calm down those panic response systems in our bodies. So doing some kind of deep breathing, taking a deep breath, holding it for a minute, blowing the air out. There's all kinds of really great mindfulness breathing exercises you can find online, even a lot of apps that now offer that will guide you through mindful breathing. I know even through iPhones and Apple Watches, they will incorporate some of those things into just your daily routine as long as you check that off in the health part of your app. So mindfulness really is way more accessible to us. And so that breathing really is a wonderful way to calm ourselves and really focus our minds and our thoughts. And then the 5 senses exercise, we call that kind of a grounding technique. But for folks who are experiencing heightened anxiety or a stressful event, rather than reacting, you're going to connect to the 5 senses. What do I hear? What do I see? What do I smell? What am I tasting? What am I touching? What am I feeling? And if you can kind of take inventory of that, and that sort of incorporates a lot of these other tasks as well. If we're doing that, we are kind of doing a scan of our bodies. We are getting in touch with our breathing. We are getting in touch with our listening. So incorporating those things, doing the 5 senses really utilizes all of those skills. So what are some ways we can do this at work? That's where most of us are day to day, and oftentimes that's where we experience a lot of triggers. So how can we just be more mindful? You can focus on your breath. I have had conversations with people before where I've had to stop and say, take a deep breath. And people actually have forgotten to breathe in the midst of their anger or anxiety. And so sometimes just a simple reminder, am I taking a deep breath? And am I breathing correctly? A lot of times when I ask people to take deep breaths, you see their shoulders go up. And really that has nothing to do with getting a deep breath. Our breath comes from our lungs. And so what we really want to expand is our stomach, that diaphragmatic muscle that's going to push things out of the way to really allow our lungs to fully fill up with air. And so if you're feeling that tension, you've done your body scan, you feel that tension in your shoulders, maybe doing an intentional exercise to relax the shoulders and really focus on your breath kind of coming out through your stomach and filling up your lungs with air, and then kind of slowly letting that air out. So paying attention to our breath is a really great place to start. Taking regular breaks. For many of us, we're sitting at a desk all day, we're staring at a computer. That might not promote the best posture. So we could be feeling some tension in our neck and in maybe even our jaw, our upper shoulders. So taking regular breaks gives our bodies a break to get up and move around, but also our brains, which need breaks as well. Checking email less. I don't know if that's an option for all of us, but maybe setting certain times of the day that you will check, and then kind of setting it aside or turning notifications off so that you aren't interrupted constantly with every time an email comes through. Practicing active listening, so engaging those listening skills and really paying attention to what people are saying around you and checking for understanding, asking folks, I hear you saying this, confirming that what you are hearing really is what they mean to tell you. I think that also helps us to be more present in conversations rather than thinking about what we want to say in response while someone is talking to us. Practicing active listening kind of helps us engage more with that person who is talking to us. And practicing gratitude. There's so many studies that have shown people who take time to be grateful actually have less stress and are able to practice more mindfulness throughout their day. So it doesn't have to be a laundry list of things. It can be 3 things at the end of the day that you jot down in a notebook, that you make a mental note of. Again, there's lots of apps that you can use that can kind of help you bring yourself to that awareness and practicing better mindfulness in those areas. And I would challenge you to get away from the same kind of 3 things every day. We might all say every day, I'm grateful for my life, my family, my job, my friends. But maybe focus on something very specific that can help you be more present and mindful throughout the day. I'm thankful for that person that let me go ahead of them in the grocery line. I'm thankful for the kindness of a stranger who paid for my coffee in front of me at McDonald's, whatever it may be. It helps us bring an awareness to specific points of our day where we can actually practice that gratitude. And then for those of you who have a long commute, you can use that drive to decompress. Practice some of these breathing skills in the car. You can listen to a host of guided meditations that will lead you through mindfulness on YouTube, through the apps, Calm app, Headspace app. Lots of them are offering these kind of pre-recorded guided meditations. I would not practice ones on sleeping while you're driving, but ones that can intentionally get you to a better headspace of clearing your mind. And I think doing that allows you to have a better transition from the stress of a work day, so that when you are getting home to your family, to your pets, whoever, you're more present and more available for them emotionally. So I wish you luck as you practice these skills, and know that I'm right there with you. This isn't something that you master and then you never have to practice again. It's a daily thing, but I do think it is a worthy task of really trying to become more present and mindful. And as I've mentioned and studies have shown, it helps us and our brains to function better when we can do that. So happy mindfulness to you, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks.